You person, how suck? Well, I don't know.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to Kent with Bent number 110, Evil Dead 2. Now, I know there's been Evil Kent 2. I know there's been some confusion, right? This is the correct order of the movies. It goes The Evil Kent,
Okay.
Arby of Kentness, Evil Kent, which is confusingly after Evil Kent 2, and it is in fact a remake of The Evil Dead, which is also what Evil Dead 2 is. So I get that it's confusing, but then there's Evil Kent Rise.
Okay.
Does that clear it up for everybody? I hope it clears it up for everybody.
Crystal clear.
Crystal clear. Okay.
Clear as mud.
Now, let's see. We've got a couple things here. One is that Deviantic TV has rejoined the channel at the tetrapod level. That was done earlier today. So if anyone wants to send in some tetrapods, not pelagic tunicates, that would be appropriate. Also, Snorefoot, who is a member and has been a member for 7 months and is at the amniote level, says, and of course, AIG is a constant colorless conflagration of a crock full of corn dogs. So we'll take a drink for that after I recognize that I did not actually put up my drink counter. So my apologies for that. Let me fix that.
Uh-oh.
Let's get the drinks going. So let's go to the desktop. Where's my death counter? There it is.
Over there.
No, I found it. It's okay. Also, on my end, I'm getting some buffering. Is anyone else having a problem with buffering? If you are, let me know.
I'm not.
Okay, may just be me. Which, that makes sense, right? Why wouldn't it be? Now, Bent, I think you have a couple things that you wanted to say before we really get into it. But first, let me take my one quick drink for the AIG. So here we go. There's a drink, and yeah, you have a couple thank yous you wanted to give?
Yeah, so as everyone here knows, Dapper Dinosaur has, the best chat on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people go above and beyond and buy me things on my wish list, and I'm very grateful. So I want to say thank you to Steve Areno for buying me protein cookies and doggy diapers. And also thank you to Dapper Dinosaur for also buying doggy diapers. It's so kind of you people. I'm very appreciative.
Well, from me, you're welcome. I like the dogs. I don't want them to...
Mm-hmm.
I like the dogs. I also don't want to, step on dog turds. So...
in puddles that don't belong.
Right. So it seemed like a win-win, for me at least.
For the good of the household, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But I do appreciate it.
Okay. Oh, look. Thanks, Windows, for sending me messages that make noise. All right, so guys, for those of you who might be new, Kent with Bent is a show where we discuss Kent Hovind's nonsense, but with the twist that it's also a drinking game. Which, yes, I know. Way back in Kent with Bent 4, I said, I don't think I'm ever going to make this drinking game. That sounds dangerous. Well, here we are, we in Kent with Bent 110, and we've been having it as a drinking game for most of that time. So, So let's go through the drinking rules. Now, we already saw one, which is that anyone who super chats or does a membership milestone chat to the effect that AIG is a bag of dicks. We'll take a drink for that. Now, you do have to be a little clever, because you can't just say AIG is a bag of dicks. You gotta actually, come up with something, because YouTube will censor that. So the Fearmonger official, who's been a member for six months at the tetrapod level, has just sent a super chat that is in Quenya, Ture tule candelello kento, which I am pretty sure means that... Oh, wait, that doesn't have anything to do with AIG. I don't know enough Quenya to know. Unless it does have something to do with AIG. Look, I picked up a tiny bit of Quenya. And that was way back in high school, and I've forgotten all of it.
Well, there you go. I've never learned it.
All right. Well, Shipfish, who's been a member for 13 months, my goodness, sent An AIG is a bag of dicks emoji, and a Godzilla, and a Mothra, and a King Ghidorah, so we'll take a drink for that. And also, DM Wing sent AIG is a bag of dicks. Oh, sorry, Kent Hovind is a bag of AIGs. Alright, no, we're still gonna drink for that. So that's 2 drinks.
Sounds good to me.
It's Quenya for basically Kent is full of crap. We'll say crap because it's still early on in the show. I don't want to add too many swears this early on. Okay, so let's go through the drinking rules. So we already talked about the AIG one. There's also anyone who sends any super chat that includes one of the kaiju emojis, which include, as we just saw, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, or a membership milestone chat with the same, will cause us to trigger a drink. Also, we will take a drink for every membership gifted. So if you want to make me take 5 drinks in a row, or 10 or whatever, I think it goes up to 15, I think. Yeah, you can just do that. And I will take significant amounts of alcohol in during that. Roland Hutchins says, 2-2 dap with, this is for $2, with Kent, Get Bent, and AIG is a bag of dicks emoji. So we will take a drink for that.
2.
Also, Rusty Longshanks says, who's been a member for 1 month and is at the amulet level, says, AIG is and forever continues to be a bag of pelagic tunicans. Okay. Take a drink for that. Let's see. Okay, so those are the ones that you guys can trigger. Also, sometimes you might hear Godzilla or Mothra audibly because it's a cell phone notification that I decide to turn on for these. If that happens, we'll take a drink for it. It's sort of like the semi-random thing. But also, there are actually triggers that have to do with Kent himself. So, the most common one is that we will take a drink whenever Kent says something. This is kind of so stupid. We have to save our brains from melting. I don't know if you know, but stupidity can melt your brain. It's a fact. Look it up. It's on PubMed or something. No, I just made that up. It's probably not on PubMed. But whatever. Don't take medical advice from me. Oh, hey, there's Godzilla. Take a drink for Godzilla. Okay. But also, if Kent actually gets something factually correct, he's not just quoting from someone, it actually comes out of his own brain, we'll take a drink for that. That's our least frequent drink trigger. We'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land, or tells a story that didn't happen. For instance, if he confuses an argument he won with his shampoo bottle in the shower, or an argument that he made up with a hypothetical Berkeley professor on an airplane, take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink anytime Kent Hovind decides to mention the National Socialist German Workers' Party or various things associated with it, like prominent members or historically significant activities that they got up to, especially in, like, the 30s and the 40s of the 20th century. I have to start saying that because it's going to be the 30s soon. Well, soon-ish, like 7 years.
That'll be what, Kent with band 400 or so?
Something like that, yeah. I say soon because, on the scale of a dinosaur who's been around for 150 million years, 7 years is nothing.
Yeah, that's soon for you.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we will also take a drink if one of us can manage to successfully predict what Kent is about to say, where the argument is sort of like iffy. We don't do that every time. It's just sort of an occasional thing. Did I say jokes that don't land? Yeah, I did say jokes that don't land. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something.
Trojan source.
Trojan source. Okay, this doesn't come up super frequently for Kent, but it does occasionally. Trojan source is one we added specifically for Randy Galuza over on my Dapper Reacts show, which is a bit more random than this one. It doesn't really have a theme other than we look at stupid stuff. But Trojan source is what we call it when the source that is cited by the creationists who we're looking at, or any pseudoscientist we're looking at really, is something that actually directly contradicts the point that they're trying to make by using that source. So, for instance, if Kent says that some adult beetles can metamorphose to look like ants if they detect ants in the environment, and the paper that we read actually says that no, this is a taxonomically restricted morphology that all adults of certain species share and that cannot be switched into or out of by adult members of beetle species, that directly contradicts his point. So we take a drink for it because that's a Trojan source. Now, that actually happened with Randy Galuza, not Kent Hovind.
That was really funny.
It was pretty darn funny. But yeah, that's what Trojan source is. So with this, we are talking about ooparts, out of place artifacts, which is a thing that don't really exist, really, but Kev thinks they do. So we're going to hear about, hopefully, more ooparts. So Bent, are you ready to get on with this?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
Roman artifacts were found in Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona? Where's that?
That's really close to me.
Yes, it is. It's so close that I think technically it's on your address, even though you don't live in Tucson, technically.
Yes. That's how it works.
Which is weird.
It's kind of weird, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
In an old grave. Now you got to understand the Roman Empire was, around the time of Christ.
I mean, and a lot longer. Let's remember, the fall of the Roman Empire didn't really happen until the siege of Constantinople that finally had the Constantinople fall to the Turks. So, but sure, it was also around in the time of Jesus.
It was.
Kind of petered out about 300 years after Christ.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to take a drink for that one. Not even the
Because-
Western Empire fell apart in the 300s. Oh my goodness. The fall of Rome wasn't for many centuries after that. The fall of Byzantium wasn't for like another 1,000 years after that, Kent.
Is he within an order of magnitude?
No, he's more, at least for the, if you're including the Byzantine Empire, he's an order of magnitude out. Yeah.
Come on, Ken.
Athenecomene, in an attempt for Tokipona, a language I have not bothered to learn. Mostly because I have mixed feelings about Tokipona. Like, I think it's cool in concept, but I think the claims made about it by most Tokipona enthusiasts are silly on their face, and I don't like those claims being made so unironically, as if they were true. But, Mupu AIG the Linya Insanoka, which I'm going to go ahead and say is probably roughly AIG is a bag of dicks in Tokipona. Although, given how ambiguous Tokipona could be, it could also mean a lot of other things, probably.
I'll drink for it.
All right. Dark Law Dragon, who's been a member for 2 months, and at the Tetrapod level says, Godzilla, Mothra, and Ghidorah, AIG is a bag of dicks. Drink. And we'll take a drink for that. And was all done with emojis. There we go. Also, the Evil Bead says 753 BCE to 1922 CE. Pretty sure those are the wrong dates also for the fall of the Roman Empire. Yeah, 1922 is probably wrong. Probably. But apparently that was in response, though, to someone who said 1453, which, yeah, that's fall of Constantinople. Which, by the way, remember, we only call the Byzantine Empire now. The Byzantine Empire called itself the Roman Empire. When the Turks conquered it and they set up their Roman system, which divided ethno and ethno-religious groups into separate communities with their own laws, the group that contained the Greeks and other various, mostly Eastern Orthodox Christians, was called the Roman people. They called themselves Romans. They thought of themselves as the Roman Empire. Also, Savage Cobra, kinda official for $5, says AIG is a dastardly duffel wherein their dunnage a disgraceful demi-brigade of dangly dongles dwells. Alright, yeah, we'll take a drink. And yeah, no, I don't think it's a historian fight. I'm pretty sure that no one is seriously suggesting 1922. Alright. Here we go.
And the political Roman Empire switched hats and became the unholy Roman Catholic Church.
Is that a joke
Okay.
that didn't land?
No, I'm pretty sure he's serious about that. We'll take another drink. The Roman Catholic Church is not, and has never claimed to be, a continuation of the political entity of the Roman Empire. Now, the Roman Catholic Church did become, or what would become the Roman Catholic Church, I suppose, did become deeply intertwined with the imperial government after it became the official religion of the Roman Empire, which, by the way, was not because of Constantine. Constantine did not make Christianity the official religion of the empire. He did support it financially, but he also supported pagan temples financially. And he did make it an illicit religion, as opposed to an illicit religion, but he also didn't ban any other religions in doing so. So, goodness, this is, yeah. Now, there are a few things. The Roman Catholic, well, so the Imperial Church is what I'm going to call it, right? Because until you get to the Great Schism, there's not a difference between the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. So it doesn't really make sense to talk about the Roman Catholic Church until after the 11th century. But whatever. The Imperial Church did organize itself along the administrative lines that had been set up by the Roman Empire. But that was for the sake of convenience, right? So a diocese, which is a term you hear now mostly in the Catholic Church, but it also occurs in the Eastern Orthodox Church, is a region with a central parish church, right? Or no, sorry, with ruled over by a bishop, not a central parish church, that's a parish. So the diocese were also administrative regions of the governorships of the Roman Empire. Right? So you'd be like, okay, you have this diocese here, and then the Imperial Church was like, well, it's easy for us to administratively set up a bishop over each diocese that pre-existed us, right? But bishops were not part of the government of the Roman Empire, even after it became an explicitly Christian empire. That's not how it worked. You couldn't go to the bishop to sue your neighbor. The bishop couldn't toss you in prison. The bishop couldn't order your execution. They could request that the state punish you if they thought you had done something, but it was up to the actual state apparatus to do so. Now, after the fall of Rome, the Pope sort of stepped up in the city of Rome to take over a secular leadership role, which is what led to the Papal States. But the Papal States are at best a successor state to the Roman Empire in parts of what is now Italy. They were not a continuation of the Roman Empire, nor really was the Holy Roman Empire, although the Pope tried to make it so. So yeah, no. There is no way in which the Roman Catholic Church is a continuation of the Roman Empire as a polity. That's just not how it works. Not that I'm a big fan of the Roman Catholic Church. I just don't like people saying things that aren't true about them. If you wanted to criticize the Catholic Church, you could, I don't know, maybe point out the numerous and continuing abuse scandals involving children. Do that. Or you could just make up conspiracy nonsense.
And so it's really continuing the same era, the same legacy. Catholic Church is a continuation of the Roman Empire.
No.
But Roman swords were found in Tucson, Arizona. Well, of course, there's lots of evidence from many sources that ever since the flood, people have been trading back and forth across the oceans.
Okay, so I feel like you know a thing or two about this.
The Tucson artifacts were 31 lead objects that Charles E. Manier and his family found in 1924 that were initially thought to be by some to be created by early Mediterranean civilizations that had crossed the Atlantic in the 1st century, but were later determined to be a hoax.
Okay. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that a number of these things appear to be weapons. So we have, like, spear points and whole swords, including crossguards. Made of...
Tar picks.
Yeah. Made of, lead. You know what you don't make a sword out of?
Lead.
Lead. It's incredibly heavy and incredibly bad at keeping an edge and incredibly soft. The first time you strike anything with a lead sword, whether it be a target or just another sword, your sword is ruined.
Yeah. Whoops.
No one makes
Oops.
weapons out of lead. It's dumb. You make them out of bronze or iron or steel, depending on when you are and how much technology you've got. Now, the thing in the middle is, in fact, a fan used in liturgical services. They're also not made out of lead, because they have to actually be used to fan things. Now, nowadays, they tend not to be used to actually fan things, they're just ceremonial, but at one point, they actually were an important part of keeping people comfortable, especially, like, the priest, because he was often his own... for much of the service, was off in a relatively enclosed part of the church. And there was not, like, central air. And windows usually weren't just open, right? So you have this guy who's in heavy vestments, who's carrying around big heavy books all over the place and reading and chanting and whatnot, you keep him a little cool by fanning him off. Also, the metal aspect of the fan helped reflect candlelight, which was the only light available, so that he could more easily read the readings for the week. Because I don't know if you know, but it can get dark. So these fans are dual-purpose actual fan and also reflector to enhance the ability to read. Neither of which lead is good at. There's a reason why they tended to be made of things like some kind of copper, or if you're really fancy, gold, or gold-plated something. But then, for the ones that are actually used to cool things off, they usually had something like feathers or something inserted around the rim so that you could actually keep. Yeah. Also, a lead cross is a maybe, but like, why? Why would you make a lead cross? Make a wooden cross, or an iron cross, or a bronze cross, or a cross plated in gold. Lead is just a weird thing. Yeah. So, now, do we happen to have any information on whether these are a hoax?
You want more information?
Yeah, like maybe if it was determined later that they were a hoax.
Yes, it was determined they were a hoax. They were displayed in Arizona State Museum in 1929, but researchers now consider these items forgeries. They disappeared, but were later to be found in the possession of Thomas Bent, who wanted to sell them. Classic Bent.
That is a classic Bent move. So also, didn't the Romans love to make drinking cups from lead? They like to make pipes and cups from lead, which is also why the word plumbing comes from plumbum, or plumbum, depending on how you want to do the pronunciation of Latin, which means lead, but also was used for pipes. They also liked to add powdered lead to their wine to sweeten it. It was a really bad idea, but it turns out lead tastes sweet. And they didn't know about the long-term effects of heavy metal poisoning, so they were just like, hey, this lead cup makes my wine taste good. Which, yes, it does. Yes.
It's a shame.
Yeah, the Fearmonger official says, you know what lead is good for? It's easy to shape and has a lower melting temp than iron. Yeah, which makes it pretty good for forging fake artifacts that you don't need to expose to much scrutiny. Weird, isn't it? It's just... I hate it. Guptu3 says, Thomas Bent, no relation. Nice.
You don't know we're not related.
That's true, I
We're
don't.
not, though.
No. I mean, everyone is to some degree.
That's true. Even me and Uncle Kent.
Yeah.
No relation.
Jewish or Hebrew coins from about the time of Christ have been found in Ohio, buried in old mounds.
By the way...
The Hebrews came over here.
No,
the Romans came over to America.
That's the video crashing.
You know, here we are teaching the kids that Columbus was the first white man to come over here 500 years ago. I'm sorry, that's just not true. Roman artifacts are found in Tucson,
it's
Arizona.
Not true. That's
one
true.
of these artifacts, one of these swords, has a dinosaur on it.
So yeah, that was the program crashing. So sorry about that. We will get that back. But in the meantime, we'll talk about Roman coins in Ohio, which I'm not actually aware of. My Unfinished Journey says AIG are an unruly unit of ugly ungui. Oh, I think it's supposed to be ungoi, like the things from Halo. So we'll take a drink. Maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll take a drink either way. So let's bring that back up. Give me a second. And I'll have to remember to share it with Bent.
By a taxidermist in 15.
Otherwise, it'll be really hard for me to...
Yeah. All right. Let me share that with you. And we're going to have to get ahead a little bit here with Kent, but that's
72.
okay.
I not understand 300 years after Christ, and the political Roman Empire switched hats and became the unholy Roman Catholic Church. Legacy were found of evidence from many sources that ever since the flood, people have been trading back and forth across the oceans.
Okay, so that's back to where we were, basically. Astral Nekamimi for $4.99 says, Roman artifacts found in America sounds like a job for Minuteman's awful archaeology. It really does. So here's the thing, right? There's a couple of things Kent is trying to push at the same time. So, okay, there's one big thing. This is what I'm going to talk about. Kent is trying to do something a lot like what a lot of pseudo-archaeologists do, like a Graham Hancock type. You might have seen Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix. That's it. That's his show. Which was created, I'm sure, only coincidentally, with him having a son who's one of the higher ups at Netflix. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, and definitely not nepotism. Now, Sam Talbot for $2 says, AIG is a bag of Richard Tracy's. Nice. Take a drink. Okay, so, Kent is trying to push this idea, right, that archaeologists and historians generally are very opposed to counter-narratives. But that's not really true. So, for instance, there was a long-standing narrative in archaeology that you could not get major megalithic sites without having agriculture first, because you needed agriculture to consistently get the excess calories that it would take to allow people to spend time constructing giant rock edifices. Which makes sense, right, if you think about it. If it takes you basically your whole day to just barely gather enough calories to cover, like, you and your kids, you might not have time to build a big rock structure. Sure, maybe. But then, we got things like Göbekli Tepe, right? I was about to say Cataloguyuk, but that's a different site. Göbekli Tepe was built like 10,000 years ago, before anyone was farming. The closest to farming you might have had is people might have thrown their leftover seeds from eating like fruit and things in a particular area, knowing that it would then later sprout fruit trees. But they weren't tending them. They weren't domesticating them. Real quick, let's see. Vandali 1998, who's been a member for 31 months, my goodness, and is at the amulet level, says, if Kent is right, we are all related, very bottlenecked and inbred related. That's a Mothra, and not just all animals. Yeah, even under Kent's bottle, we're all related. So we'll take a drink for the Mothra. Okay, so when Göbekli Tepe was found, there are a couple things archaeologists could have done. They could have done what Kent expects them to do and said, oh, we're just going to ignore this and cover it up. We're going to pretend it's a hoax. But that's not what they did. There currently are archaeologists working on the site right now, and it's being published in mainstream journals, and there are documentaries being made about it, and archaeologists are enthusiastic about this site. Which is weird, because if Kent's right, that they're this conservative bunch of people who don't want anything to go against the mainstream narrative, they wouldn't be doing that. Similarly, when a Viking village was found in Canada, dating to before Columbus, if archaeologists were all about the mainstream consensus view and not rocking the boat and not letting anything new come out, then they would have hidden that fact and ignored it and continued to write about how no European found their way to the Americas until Christopher Columbus. But that's also not what happened. It's now widely accepted that there was a Viking presence in northeastern North America, in what's now Canada, several centuries before Christopher Columbus found the West Indies, as they were called at the time, and that those settlements were abandoned, whether because of conflict with native people or because they were just not very tenable. We don't really know. But yeah, that's just now a accepted part of archaeology. So what if we did find Roman artifacts in Tucson that were real? I mean, archaeology would just be like, well, okay, that's a pretty big find, but I guess, yeah, the Romans made it all the way to Tucson, which is a little surprising. You'd think you'd find them in places like, like Greenland or like Maine or Virginia or something first, but hey, whatever. Who knows? It wouldn't be this, oh no, we have to hush, keep it quiet. Also, Bishanti says, who's been a member for 21 months, my goodness. All these members who've been a member since forever. Says Godzilla, which we'll take a drink for, but then also says, per se, the way it's spelled by Armando Calvo in his book, A Conscious Universe. Which, we watched, she and I watched the Logic video about that section together. And when that came up on screen, I just broke. Like, my entire brain just, like, shattered into a few different pieces, and, like, I lost it for... I don't know, Vishant, how long was it? Like, it's going to at least be, like, 5 minutes, and I just could not stop laughing at per se spelled that way. Yeah. Is Kent going full Mormon? Kind of. I mean, he's certainly not going to go full Mormon doctrinally because he thinks all that's heresy, which I'm not here to tell you whether it is or not. But yeah, there's been a lot of Mormon hoaxes, Mormon hoax archaeology. Like it's a whole subgenre of like pseudo archaeology where like there's purporting to find like Hebrew artifacts in places like Las Cruces, New Mexico, is a place that had purported Hebrew artifacts found by a Mormon, and yeah, no, they were fake.
Okay.
Jewish or Hebrew coins from about the time of Christ have been found in Ohio, buried in old mounds.
I've never heard of some from Ohio. I have heard from some from Las Cruces, but like I said, yeah, Mormon pseudo-archaeology and Mormon archaeology hoaxes are a thing. So usually what happens is someone wants to get a little, famous, and also maybe wants to bolster, people's opinion of Mormonism as a plausibly true religion, which I'm not going to really talk too much about, but I will say that we know that at least some of the things that Joseph Smith's claimed to have translated, he definitely didn't, but that's okay. Anyway, yeah, these are hoaxes by Mormons. That's what that is. They're just hoaxes by Mormons. They usually reproduce bits of like the Masoretic text, like word for word, in like badly formed Paleo Hebrew. And like, okay, great. Savage Cobra Kinda Official for $5 says, but Dapper, those archaeologists are evil atheists that base their conclusions on, check notes, evidence. Yes, they are. We should not trust them. Because how dare they use evidence?
The Hebrews came over here. The Romans came over to America. Here we are teaching the kids that Columbus was the first white man to come over here 500 years ago. I'm sorry.
No, we're not. Not anymore.
That's just not true. Roman.
Do the Hebrews count as white people? Like, would the ancient Hebrews count as white people from like 2,500 years ago?
Who knows?
Yeah, it's weird. So part of the problem there is that definitions of whiteness shift. And of course, at the time, there was no concept of whiteness. Like, go back 2,000 years ago and you ask, like, are you a white person? He was like, what do you mean? I'm Roman. Or like, I'm Persian or Egyptian or Nubian or whatever, right? White wasn't a category.
Artifacts are found in Tucson, Arizona. One of these swords has a dinosaur on it. So I called the guy who has...
Okay, so remember, one of these lead swords has a crudely carved dinosaur on it. And by the way, that's not how you make a sword either, right? Like, the blade usually comes down... You don't typically include the crossguard as part of the blade. That's usually a separate piece that's bolted in. Well, not bolted. Usually, like what do you call them? Not bolts. What's the other fastener that I'm thinking of? Rivets. Yes, it's usually riveted in. And then the blade actually narrows down to like a tang over which you put two wooden pieces that you rivet together, and then usually you wrap it in something, and then you might have a pommel piece that gets hammered in at the end. Like, this isn't even made the way you would make a sword. It's not made out of the thing you would make a sword out of. Like, the whole thing is just completely ridiculous. But also...
like a weird drawing. Lines on paper.
Yeah. We've also got a super chat I got to read out from Ashton Lekamimi for $1.99 US, who says, if the Hebrews aren't white, Jesus was whitewashed. So, interestingly, depictions of Jesus actually basically always end up looking like the people where he's being depicted. If you look at Ethiopian Tewahedo Orthodox icons of Jesus, he looks like he's Ethiopian. If you look at Coptic Orthodox icons of Jesus, he looks like he's Egyptian. If you look at Greek Orthodox icons of Jesus, he looks like he's Greek. If you look at ancient Chinese, or actually just Chinese depictions even now, if you look at modern Chinese depictions of Jesus, often looks Chinese. And, of course, if you look at Italian depictions of Jesus, he looks Italian. And if you look at French depictions of Jesus, he looks kind of French. Now, there's a reason for this, which is that in Christianity, there's this idea that Christ is the ideal man. And so you are supposed to be emulating him to the best degree possible. And so people use their own local conception of what an idealized person would look like, and given that all the people around them tend to be of similar ethnicity and have a similar look in things like skin color, shape of facial features, things like that, that's how they tend to draw him, which is actually not unique to Jesus. That's a common thing in depictions of religious leaders around the world. So if you look at Buddhist statues of the Buddha from, say, India, he looks pretty Indian. But if you go to China, it tends to look more Chinese. So, was Jesus whitewashed? Kind of, but I mean, he was also Africanized and East Asianized and all sorts of things. So it's not really fair to just say with a blanket statement that Jesus was whitewashed. Because, yeah, it's pretty typical that he was depicted as a local. Now, Wayne Rossi for $5 says, does Kent think kaiju movies prove dinosaurs lived with humans in Japan in the 1950s? With a Godzilla emoji, which I will take a drink for. And, you know, with his logic, you'd think it would, right? Because he finds like, oh, hey, look at this art of a dinosaur-looking thing, which in many cases doesn't even look like a dinosaur. Like, Godzilla doesn't. I guess that means they saw real dinosaurs. And, I mean, honestly, Godzilla looks more like a dinosaur than many of the things he's shown us, like the long-necked lions that look like lions with long necks. So, yeah, I mean, if he wanted to be consistent, he should think that Japan had dinosaurs at least up until the 1950s. All right, here we go.
The sword. His name is Tom Peterson, Arizona Historical Society. I said, Tom, and dinosaurs did not live at the same time. Now, wait a minute. Does he know they did not live at the same time, or does...
Yes, he does. It's true, and I'm sure that he could justify that belief reasonably. So yeah, he does know.
he believe they do not live at the same time?
Knowledge is a subset of belief. Knowledge are justified true beliefs. So, if the thing you believe is true, and you have justifiable reasons to say it is true, then you know it. So those are the three components. 1, you must believe it. If you don't believe it, you don't know it. 2, it must be true. If it's not true, you don't know it. 3, you must be able to give sufficient justification for your belief. If all three of those things are met, then it's true. Now you might say, how can you have certainty if the things that you believe are true and have justification for are in fact true? Yeah, good question. Welcome to epistemology. So, yeah, belief and knowledge aren't contrasting, right? It's like saying, that's not a mammal, that's a dog. Dogs are a subset of mammals, just like knowledge is a subset of belief. You can believe things that are true that you can't justify. So, for instance, if you taught a toddler that the Earth is a globe, that's true. But could a toddler reasonably justify that belief? Probably not. So do they know it's a globe? No. Now, let's say you had someone who was a cartographer who told you that the Earth is a globe, and they could show you all these mathematical reasons to believe that it's a globe, and all these measurements and justifications, and all through history. That person knows that the Earth is a globe. Yeah.
See, his preconceived idea that evolution is true prevents him from accepting this as evidence.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna take a drink. Oh, this is dumb for so many reasons.
How would these forgeries being real, like if they were real, how does that affect evolution?
I don't. Yeah, oh, okay.
Magically.
So there's a few things. Yeah, one, that wouldn't disprove evolution. Evolution doesn't say that dinosaurs had to go extinct at a certain point and could not have survived. The idea that non-avian dinosaurs went extinct is based on there not being any evidence of them afterwards. The sword isn't one. So further, this sword has been known to be a fake for a very long time. For at this point, almost a century, these swords have been known to be fake. For one thing, they're made of lead. I just want to keep pointing that out. They are made of lead. They might as well be made out of paper. It's the dumbest thing to make a sword out of. Okay. So, also, I want to point out that there is this thing called Old Earth creationism, which also tends to believe that the dinosaurs died out before humans ever showed up on the scene. And that it is also just as anti-evolutionary as Kent is. It's just also not as anti-geology and astronomy as Kent is. And those people are not believing in the long age of the Earth or the ancient extinction of dinosaurs because they believe in evolution. So for numerous reasons, this is a stupid point to make, that this guy only thinks dinosaurs didn't live with humans because of evolution. He almost certainly knows that the sword he owns is fake. He almost certainly, whether he's a creationist or not, is at least an old earther. And so, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, some of the dinosaurs survived, like me and the birds.
Mm-hmm.
All he knows is this can't be legitimate because evolution is true.
No, it could be legitimate. Goodness, I can't.
Why
Taking a drink.
it's not legitimate. My goodness. That's so stupid.
Late surviving dinosaurs are not evidence against evolution. Right? Evolution doesn't say certain groups of organisms have to go extinct.
It's a drawing of a dinosaur on a sword. What?
Yeah.
Drawings are drawings, Kent.
The reason it's a fake isn't because there's a dinosaur. It's because it's a modern lead artifact.
My brain hurts.
Yeah, mine too. That's why I'm drinking alcohol.
Lucky.
But if you're willing to get rid of all your prejudices like a scientist is supposed to do, and say, hey, maybe man and dinosaurs lived at the same time.
Yeah, or this lead sword might be a modern forgery. That's also a possibility. So what's more likely? That animals, very big animals, persisted up until historical times while leaving literally no physical evidence of their existence. Not a single modern sauropod vertebra, not a single T-Rex femur, not a single Triceratops horn anywhere in the record up after the Cretaceous. They survived anyway, and they lived in Rome. And then those Romans made swords out of lead for some reason and brought them to Tucson, Arizona. That's one option.
Some Romans out the window.
That's one option. The other option is someone made some fake swords out of lead.
Well, option one sounds like a Doctor Who episode.
Yes, it does.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to take a drink for Kent being like, oh yeah, the more likely explanation is that dinosaurs survived while leaving no physical evidence. Then Romans saw them. They made swords out of lead for some reason. Then they just went to Tucson. Thousands of miles from anywhere they could reasonably get by boat. Even if they could get to North America in the first place. So there's a drink for that. Vendeli 1998 said, non-surviving dinosaurs isn't evidence of evolution, it's evidence of extinction events. Very true. That is correct.
During the age of sailing ships, there are thousands of stories of people sighting sea monsters.
Okay.
Well, you got to understand, from about the time of Columbus, first guy really to go across the ocean in modern times, there was a 1,000-year span of history where things were very suppressed.
What does that mean? Things were suppressed. Okay, maybe,
I don't know what he means by that.
Maybe he'll explain.
Is he trying to talk about the Dark Ages?
I don't know. Maybe he'll explain it.
Knowledge was suppressed. The Catholic Church really put the clamps down, and they wanted everybody in darkness.
Okay, I'm gonna take a drink. Okay, so first, actually, that's a drink for that being soup. But also, we need to take a drink because Bent was right. He is talking about the Dark Ages.
Yay!
You got a successful prediction.
About time.
I know. All right, so first, let's just accept the existence of the Dark Ages, which we're going to talk about later because that's not a real thing, but we'll just accept it. The Roman Catholic Church was in very weak control of parts of Western Europe. They were nominally in charge of the religious life of Western Europe, but really weren't, which you can tell by the fact that popes had to keep repeating themselves, like saying things like, hey, Spanish Inquisition, for like the 8th time, you're not authorized. To which Spanish Inquisition said, we're still going to go hunt down crypto Jews and burn them at the stake. Or saying, hey, priests, you need to stop living with women as wives. You're supposed to be celibate. To which basically all the priests were like, yeah, but like, having a wife is kind of cool, so we're going to keep doing it. Or like, hey, guys, you're not allowed to dispossess Jews of their property. That's not okay. To which basically everyone, except the Jews, I suppose, said, yeah, but we like their stuff, so we're going to take it. Or like the numerous times that kings tried to say, I'm going to make this guy the bishop. And the Pope was like, no, hold on. I'm in charge of who's the bishop. To which the king was like, yeah, but like, I've got the money and like the weapons. So this guy's going to be the bishop. Like that happened all over the place. The Catholic Church was not in charge of Europe, but also, very importantly, Bent.
Yeah.
Are there places where people live and have libraries and scholars and research that aren't Western Europe?
Yes.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure. I just believe that.
You think so? Like,
I think it's true, and I believe it, but I can't justify it.
so you're saying places like North Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa or China or the Middle East or the Near East, those are all places that might exist and might have people doing scholarship?
It's entirely possible.
Huh. And were there a whole bunch of Catholics running around in these places, to your knowledge, during the Middle Ages?
I don't think so.
Correct,
I don't
there
know.
were not. So, but second, there aren't really Dark Ages. The reason the Dark Ages were called the Dark Ages, because historians don't like that term much because of what I'm about to talk about. The reason they got that term wasn't because they were a time of the suppression of knowledge, where the evil Catholic Church was putting its fingers all through all the institutes of higher learning and suppressing any knowledge of anything. They're called that because things like monumental architecture and record keeping declined in Europe. That's it. We don't have as many historical sources, and we don't have as much like monumental architecture being built. That's it. During this period, eyeglasses were invented.
Nice.
The ability to use horses to draw plows is invented. We invented hopping beer. That was a thing that was invented. If you like modern beer, thank the medieval period. So, like, yeah, things continue to develop both in Europe and outside of Europe. In fact, over in like the Islamic world, great strides were being made in both chemistry and optics. China was also making huge strides in chemistry as well as the printing press. Pretty cool idea, the printing press. Because you might think that, printing press was invented over in Germany or something. No, it was invented in China. The movable type base printing press was in fact developed by Gutenberg. But earlier, non-movable type printing presses were already being used in China to mass produce texts in Chinese. So, yeah, the idea that during the Dark Ages, as Kent I'm sure would call them, the Catholic Church was just suppressing knowledge worldwide, one, imparts far more power onto the Catholic Church than they ever had during that time, and over a far wider area than is possible. And second, yeah, the whole idea of the Dark Ages is just, at least as Kent is conceiving of them, they just didn't really exist. There was a period in which gunpowder was invented. So, yeah. Dia Wing says, but Dapper Dinosaur, how do you explain that why Baptists, a direct and true descendant of Christ's ministry, didn't appear until the Reformation? It's because they're a Protestant group. They don't actually go back to the first century. Landmarkist Baptists are wrong. Landmark Baptism is a ahistorical attempt to link Baptist practice and theology back to the first century, which has no grounding in any historical or archaeological data. As Vishanti says, laughs in Islamic Golden Age. Yeah, this was the time when the Muslim world was leading the charge in mathematics, lots of aspects of chemistry, in optics, yeah, like architecture. Yeah. Now, granted, a lot of the architectural leaps were extrapolations from earlier Roman and Greek architecture, but that's how science works. Although their advancements in optics, it's hard to attribute that that's the word I'm looking for, that to anyone but them. They did some amazing work with optics. They basically invented glass lenses. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big fan of glass lenses. I use glass lenses all the time. I'm using
So do I.
3 of them right now.
Yes, I am.
So
And so Columbus sailed across the ocean. Now, people had done it before, but the Dark Ages is a very legitimate age in history.
no, it's not Ken, but okay.
There's going with a boat, with a sailboat.
Yeah.
Sailboats don't make much noise going through the water.
Oh. I guess we'll take a drink for that being true. I don't know what the point is. Savage Cobra Kind official says, but what if some Baptists from the 19th century said they are the inheritors of the true church? Look, I'm not here to tell you who the true church is, but there were not a series of Baptist communities going back to the 1st century. If you're a Baptist and you believe that baptism represents, like baptism in the sense of like the movement within Christianity, is the original form of Christianity preached by the apostles and Jesus, go right ahead. But just know that there is not historical or archaeological evidence that would support that contention. And there is historical and archaeological evidence against the contention that there is a continuous presence of people with those beliefs and practices from the 1st century up until today. Can I prove that that's not what the apostles and Jesus said to do and believe? No, I can't. But also, Baptists can't prove that that is what they said. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Early 1900s, you start developing steam engines, diesel engines, gasoline engines, internal combustion engines. They make a lot of noise.
Oh, he's saying they're scaring away the sea monsters. Guys, the only reason we don't see sea monsters today is because ships are too loud. What is happening?
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
taking a drink on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
The steamships are scaring away the sea monsters, guys. It's weird how they don't scare away the whales. Because have you ever been on a whaling? Not whaling, but a whale, like, what do you call it when you go look for whales on a ship? You take it
Whale
like a
watching?
tour. Whale watching, that's the term. Right. You ever done that?
Oh.
I have. You know what we saw?
A whale
We saw numerous whales.
and dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen plenty of dolphins, but seeing whales
Yeah,
was
me too.
really cool. And ultimately, whales are giant sea monsters, really. And they're not scared away by boats with propellers. They'll swim right up. If anything, they should be more scared of boats with sails, since those are the ones that historically targeted them. Although that's not within living memory for most whales, or any whales probably. So But yeah. So why is it that these weird sea monsters that look like serpents are so scared of boats, but whales aren't? What's the big difference? Humans don't even have a history of hunting these giant sea monsters that Kent is talking about. They do have a long history of hunting whales.
It's a
Whales are,
phobia.
yeah.
Now, sound travels real fast underwater.
True, we'll take a drink.
You can go underwater at one end of a lake, have somebody go a long ways away and bang 2 rocks together underwater, and you'll hear it. Where you couldn't hear it above water, right? Put your head under in the bathtub sometime and just tap on the side of the tub. A light tap that you would never hear in the air, you will hear through the water. So since sound travels much faster and much longer, much farther through water, whales, for instance, can yell at each other or, call to each other 100 miles away. A whale can, in their songs, they say they can hear them 100 miles away underwater.
Cool. I don't actually know the numbers. He is right that whale song does travel for a very long time, but I'm not going to take a drink for the number because I'm not sure what it is. But what he's saying is, it's not on its face implausible.
Okay. During the age of sailing ships, it's pretty quiet going through the water, so my contention is maybe that's why there are so many legends of sea serpents, sea monsters. You would be able to get closer to them because your boat's not making so much noise.
Ugh.
Whereas today, with your diesel engine, they can hear you coming 100 miles away, and they've learned to avoid the shipping lanes.
Kent, ships routinely see whales, whale sharks, basking sharks, dolphins, all the time.
Does he not know that?
I don't know.
Has he not been on deployment before?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I've been on one of the biggest ships with the most propellers that's ever propellered through the ocean, and man, did dolphins love that thing.
They do.
They were like, this is the best thing in the world. I'm going to ride alongside it, have fun in the wake, jump around. This is great. Demon for $5 says, whale song goes between stars. Star Trek 4 said so. It's true. Star Trek 4 did say that. It was also the one with the HMS Bounty, the Klingon bird of prey that was commandeered by the crew of the Enterprise that got blown up. Which makes it... Is it the only Star Trek movie that doesn't actually involve the Enterprise in any way?
I don't know if they're ever on the Enterprise. Aren't they at the beginning? They
No,
might be.
the Enterprise is destroyed at the end of Star Trek 3.
Okay. I misremembered.
Yeah, at the end of Star Trek 3, they commandeer the Klingon ship after the Enterprise blows up. That's where they take Malt's prisoner.
Hmm.
And he's like, you said you would kill me. And Kirk's just like, I lied. And he's all like, aw, I want to be a prisoner.
How dishonorable.
I know. Megan Ring for $5 says, there are bowhead whales old enough to remember. Oh, okay. In fact, there are still a few that have harpoons stuck in their back. Ooh, that's unpleasant. Ugh. Like proxy apologies to the bowhead whales. Or is it bowhead? I think it's bowhead. Might be bowhead. English is stupid. Thank you for that, Megan. Yeah, so let's see. Star Trek 5 had the Enterprise because it was the refit. Or the B. Yeah, it was the B. No, the A. Yeah, A. I can't remember, guys. Star Trek, whatever. Then 6 was also the A. Then Generations was the E. Then it got destroyed. And then for First Contact, it was the D in Generations. And then First Contact, it was the E, and it was the E for all the other TNG movies. So yeah, I think Star Trek 4 is the only one that doesn't have the Enterprise in it. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the Enterprise.
There are lots of stories of people sighting sea monsters. Missionary Hans Egede reported a sea monster. His great-great-great-great...
Oh, he's a missionary, so that makes him trustworthy, apparently. Here's the thing. Lots of people see ghosts and Bigfoot and sea monsters and whatever else you care. Aliens. Who cares? Lots of people see lots of things. You want to show something exists, produce it. Give an actual physical example of the thing. You think an animal exists, find it, and get physical evidence of it existing. Vandalia 1998 for $5 says, instead of avoiding boats, the sea monsters are more like, oh, I wonder if we can get a free food by getting closer. I mean, that would make sense given like the stories about sea monsters attacking vessels. Yeah, Liz D, I know I got the lettering wrong in my Enterprises. Sorry about that. Look, I'm a giant nerd, but I don't have everything memorized. Think about it. Sorry. Okay. So, yeah, find the physical evidence, right? If you want to say that, like, giant sea serpents exist, find a giant sea serpent, man. People manage to get... And here's another thing, right? You notice how they don't wash up on shore? Like, we get dead whales that wash up on shore. We get dead giant and colossal squid that wash up on shore. Weird how we never get a dead plesiosaur that washes up on shore, isn't it?
Very strange.
Yeah. Now, I'm hoping that he actually shows us some of the more famous sea monsters that have washed up dead on shore, because they're almost all whales. So, you ever heard of a globster?
No.
A globster is a term for a large and, at least by amateurs, unidentifiable, there it is, mass of organic tissue. Sometimes washes up from the ocean. It's usually like hunks of shark or whale that just dead, rotting, washes up. Yeah.
Great-great-grandson, S.M. McAllister, came to a meeting when I spoke up in New England someplace, Delaware, I believe. He said, oh yeah, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was Hans Egede. And in his diary, I've got the whole photocopy of the diary in one of my files there, he reported seeing a sea monster.
Ooh.
That stuck its head up, even with one of the top sails on the ship. And it had...
Average Cobra kind of official says, which is the best Enterprise in your book? Well, Vishanti is here, so if I say anything other than NX-01, I might get in trouble later.
Two little flappers, he called it, flappers. We probably would call it a flipper. and they said it had like a mane running down its back.
Which, by the way, doesn't sound like anything from the fossil record. I like how Kent is like, this thing that doesn't sound like anything we've ever heard of. It's totally evidence that dinosaurs are still alive, even though there are no fully aquatic Mesozoic or just non-avian dinosaurs, and even though the description of it does not sound like a dinosaur. Because, hey guys, dinosaurs don't have manes. Oh, even Bashanti it wouldn't say the NX-01 is her favorite or the best Enterprise. What if I said Enterprise F? Would that be a controversial statement? Not true. I don't actually think it's the best one, but I don't know. You know who's the captain of the Enterprise F?
No.
7 of 9.
Spoiler alert.
I know, right? Globster tier list or a Dino one, perhaps. Yeah, those would both be pretty good. Both Globster and Dino tier list would be. That's Theros Rex for $2. I actually am thinking about trying to do some kind of dinosaur-related top 10 list, although I don't know what to put in there, because I can't just put top 10 dinosaurs, because that doesn't make sense to me. It's like saying top 10 mammals. Like, what are your criteria for saying this is the number 1 mammal? I don't know. So yeah, anyway, here we go.
Of course, it may have been when it came out of the water is still dripping off of its fin, which would make it look like a horse's mane, if the water is still dripping off.
Oh, that's the explanation. No. The water preferentially just bunches up by the back of the skull and the back of the neck. That's just what happens.
Forms hair-like structures.
Heather Kuhn for $5 says, basking sharks. A lot of these alleged dead sea monsters are rotting basking sharks. Yes. That's because rotting basking sharks look a lot like plesiosaurs. I expect him to get to the basking shark, the famous one from Japan. And if we get there, we'll talk. So ultimately, look, the Enterprise that I have the most fond feelings for is the D, right? That's because it's the first Star Trek show I watched, how I got into Star Trek. For one thing, it's also the Enterprise that we have the most of, right? We never spent more time with any Enterprise than the D. Mm-hmm. And also I really like the smooth lines. The bridge set is really nice with that wood paneled tactical station that kind of sweeps into the lower level of where the command chair is, and the navigation and ops panels, and the back science things. It's less cool when you watch it in HD and you can see all the black construction paper that they plaster all over it so that the glare is hidden. But
you can see the marks where they're supposed to stand. Little X's on the
little
ground.
X's on the ground. Yeah. It was very clear that show was never intended to be broadcast in high definition. Theros Rex for $2 says, top 10 most dapper dinosaurs besides me. I mean, a lot of them would be modern dinosaurs like the peacock. I don't know.
Bishop Eric Pontoppidan of Norway in 1755 reported that he saw a sea monster.
Okay.
I believe that was off the coast of Greenland, if I remember. Hans Egede was off the coast of Greenland. Bishop to Norway, I forget where he saw it, but you can get the book.
Could have been Norway, just saying.
Monsters of the Sea. I've got most of these books in my library. Captain McKay tells a fascinating story about he was the captain of the HMS Daedalus.
Hey, you know what? I just realized we went past break time. Let's take a quick break. Yeah, we'll take a quick break. We will be back. I need to refresh this drink anyway, since I'm actually about to run out. That's how I noticed, is that my drink is very watery and very low. And I'm like, why is this? And I look, I'm like, oh, we're past the break time. Okay. So guys, we're going to take a quick break. While we are on break, please enjoy the musical stylings of one Beethoven. That's that guy right there.
No relation.
No relation. And then when we get back, we will read Dr. Tapioca Weasel's membership milestone chat. Oh, wait. So it says wait. Oh, but it doesn't say wait before you go. So we will read it afterwards. All right, everybody, we will be back in just a few minutes. And we are back. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
All right. Sorry about the extra noise. The AC has not gone off yet. After I turn it right back on real quick. We have a couple things to read off. First, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, who's been a member for 14 months and is at the diapsy level. Wow, has it really been 14 months? Goodness. Says, Mothra Godzilla, so we'll take a drink for that. Wait, so are you saying AIG is a bag of the enterprise for which you have the most nostalgia? Kind of? Anyway, by the way, I'm seeing nearly half of the people who are here who have not hit like, so please do hit like. It really helps a lot. Hank says, for $5 dues, says, AIG are a vast vessel of veiny vesicles void of virtue. Wow. Nice. Take a drink for that. Ben Tobin, no relation, who's been a member for 34 months.
Yeah.
Which does sound right. Says, thanks for clicking like. Godzilla will take a drink for that.
All right.
Okay, so I think we are now set with things we got to read. Johnny says no one wants a sweaty dinosaur. Joke's on you, dinosaurs don't sweat. At all. They don't even have the right glands. So, quick few things before we get back into it. One is, guys, this channel is supported almost entirely through the direct support of fans. My viewers, my audience, chat. You are the guys who keep this channel operating, putting out usually 3 videos a week. Almost always. That is because this is paying for itself, but it is always in danger of having a bad month, going into the red, and if we have that happen too much, I mean, I would have to stop doing it as often as I do. I might have to cut back or something, which I would prefer not to do. I want to keep up. I want to try and get better. I want to, eventually be able to do things like afford really nice equipment, maybe even the ability to have like a recording booth someday. That would be nice. That would really that would really up the sound quality. So, things like that would be great. And a big part of that is people helping support on a regular basis. The 2 easiest ways to do that are Patreon and the channel memberships. I get a bigger percentage on Patreon, so I do encourage people to check that out. But also, you do get the emojis in the channel memberships. Speaking of which, Dr. Tapioca Weasel just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So we were going to take 5 drinks after I read out who got them. They went to Raziel Faustus, Ian Houston, Shipfish, Al Trucker, Cross-Platform Adventures, there we go, I got it, and Ember. So everybody, send tetrapod emojis, don't send those disgusting pelagic tunicates. Also, Savage Cobra Kinda Official just gifted 5 memberships. So I will read off who those go to, and then we'll take 10 drinks. This went to My Unfinished Journey. Oh my goodness, it's going too fast, I can't keep up. My Unfinished Journey, Quinn Brown, it's happening again. Liska Day Babbitt, Olivia Kaufman, and Curb C. I think that's how it's pronounced. Curb C, Curb Say, Curb Che. I'm not sure. Oh, did I say Shipfish? I meant to say Ember. I'm sorry. It was Ember. Look, the chat is going by at like lightning speed. I am desperately trying to scroll up as the chat tries to scroll down for me. So like,
I thought you named all and then accidentally added Tripfish as like a 6th one.
Oh, maybe I did that. All right, so we will take 10 drinks real quick. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my goodness, Steve Reno just gifted 5 more. So here's the 5th drink. So we still have 10 to go. So, okay, hold on. Those went to Borg Emporia, Cryo Man, LP, Lady Moonweb, and James Leeson. Goodness. Okay, so let's once again commence taking 10 drinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. That's 5. Okay, 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Ooh.
Goodness. Oh, I'm getting close to a brain
Small
freeze on that one.
Oh no.
Okay. So continuing on with that, yeah, on the Patreon as well as memberships, you get access to at this point about 5 months worth of early access content. You can get your name in the credits if you go to the $5 or above. Starting at 20, you can get your name read out loud. On Patreon at $10, you can also gain access to some 3D models that I've made. A lot of them are procedural, so you can take them and tweak them how you want to use in whatever project you want, or procedural materials. Also, Shanti gifted 1 Dapper Dinosaur membership, which went to Stu Griffin. We'll take one more drink for that. Thank you very much, Vishanti. Much appreciated. And guys, if you want to get... Oh, and Border Barbecue says, member for 6 months, says, Tunicate Uprising, bunch of Plage Tunicate emojis, which is just disgusting. And it says, and with Mothra, which we'll take a drink for, because even though there's all those gross pelagic tunicates, Mothra does overcome. Archaeological says, hey, did you know there's an option to give 50 memberships? I'm not doing that today, but the option is there. I did not know that. That would be...
That's a lot.
That's a lot. It's also really expensive. Isn't that like... 50? Is that $250 that would cost someone?
We'd earn a tutu in just one.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
One
In
gift.
fact, actually, we might actually be getting really close to the tutu as it is right now. So, but yeah, that's the spiel about the Patreon and the memberships. There's also wish lists, both Bent and I, if you want to buy Bent more doggy diapers, because it turns out that even, 9 diapers goes pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So if you want to do that, there's that. I also have lots of, especially the big thing that's on my list right now is RPG stuff. That's a big thing for me. And actually, yeah, we did. We passed the 2-2 number.
Nice.
Yep. So, oh wait, hold on. I might have made a mistake. No, we didn't.
Oh,
I was wrong.
not nice.
No, we're about $45 off. I typed in the
Plenty
wrong
of time.
numbers. Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, so there's wish lists. There's also a merch store down in the description. You can get a t-shirt, you can get a mug, you can get that blanket that you can see in Ben's background. All sorts of cool stuff. Anyway. But feeders. Well, Vishanti, the tutu and the feeders are coming in at the same number. So we're about 45 away from both tutu and feeders. So, we could easily get there. All right.
And he asks how much to wear a 3-3. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I don't even know how
Yeah.
much.
I don't even know where to get a 3-3.
I don't either.
Yeah.
In 1848, on August of 1848, they were sailing around, and a sea monster swam under their boat. The lookout called for the captain and said, "Captain, we got a sea monster out here." So the captain came up on deck, called some more of the crew up there. They watched this sea monster for 20 minutes.
Okay.
He said it came so close to my boat, if I would have known it, if it would have been a man of mine acquaintance, I could have easily recognized him.
Okay, so here's what's happening. In 1848, an unknown creature approached a boat.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. What is that supposed to inform me of? How is that supposed to help Kent's case?
Because I think that he thinks it's a dinosaur. Which I think he's trying to prove dinosaurs are still alive. I don't know.
Yeah, this is very bizarre because none of this helps Kent in any way with any of his major claims. It's like, is it likely that people in 1848 saw an animal they couldn't identify in the ocean? Yeah, that seems perfectly plausible.
Was it nighttime?
I don't know. But at nighttime or daytime, it's a cool story, but like, then what? What do we do with that? The answer is nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't help
Can't do much.
anything. Yeah. Oh, doggy cam. There's a big old doggy right there. Archer was just on camera.
Why not?
Oh, there he is. Oh, look at
There you
him.
go.
Look at that good boy.
He was close enough for me to recognize this creature.
Oh, Fade Degree just upgraded their membership to Amnio. Thank you very much, Fade Degree. Send some Petrapod emojis for that. That really does help. Yep. It's also Amnio is the lowest level where you start getting your name in the credits. Because before that, it's Tetrapod, which is either $1 on Patreon or $1.99 on YouTube, and that does not get your name in the credits. But it does give you access to the server as well as early access to the videos. Which, by the way, when it comes to the server, I know we just got a bunch of people. 16 new memberships today. Go to your settings, go to connections, and connect your Discord to the YouTube account with which you were gifted, or on which you were gifted the membership. That will automatically add you to the Discord server. That is how you join the Discord server. You do not join the Discord server by asking me for a join link. That is not how you do it. It is already set up to do it automatically.
Jeez.
Said it was on a steady course, didn't deviate. He said it was going against the wind. And if you read the account that McKay left behind, it rules out all other possibilities that people have tried to use to explain this.
Oh?
Some people say, well, it was just a piece of driftwood.
No, I don't think it was a
Who
piece of
said that?
driftwood. Yeah, I don't know who said that. I feel very confident that this guy saw an animal. That seems pretty reasonable.
They don't go against the wind. It was going against the wind, and
Driftwood could go against the wind if there were a strong enough current. So there is that. There's not a good reason why it wasn't driftwood. The reason I don't think it's driftwood is because I don't think that the sailors were that stupid that they couldn't recognize driftwood. Because it's not like it's like an unknown phenomenon or anything.
and against the current.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. If it's going against the current and the wind, then yeah, that good reason for it not to be driftwood. But again,
Sounds like there was an animal swimming around in the
Mhm.
ocean.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, I'm not here to dispute that people in 1848 saw an animal, they didn't know and they didn't know how to identify it.
These sailboat captains, take careful records on all that kind of stuff. Which way's the current? Which way's the wind? I mean, they're very dependent on those things. The sailors on board.
You know what? We'll take a drink for that. It is true. Captains of sailboats were very dependent on the wind and the current, and they did take careful notes and records. Yeah, as Olivia Williams says, probably a whale or a squid or something. Yeah. Yep.
Begged the captain not to mention this in the logbook. They said, "Captain, please don't mention this in the logbook." Why would they do that?
They don't want to get made fun of.
Yeah, they're going to get laughed at.
Was that a correct prediction?
Yes.
All right, cool. We'll take a drink.
I don't understand it, but
You go back from a long fishing trip and say, "Hey, we saw a sea monster." Average landlubber, who doesn't ever go out, he looks at the ocean once in a while. How far out? You can see out 5-6 miles.
So Dr. Tapioca Weasel just requested that we get an update on how many members we need for a new emoji. So I will take a look. But here's the thing, right? When YouTube gives me these numbers, it is not always super accurate. I'm going to give you what they're telling me. But if you then just buy that many memberships for people and then it doesn't work, I don't know what to tell you. That's a thing that happens, right?
yeah.
So go to default, customize default perks, emojis, and this says 11 more members needed for 20 emojis, but how many emojis do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We already have 20 emojis. So what it really means is I think what it actually means is 36 numbers. What it actually means. So it's probably either 11 or 36, or maybe 61. Probably not 61 though. So, yeah, the answer is a lot. It's gonna take a while before we get our 21st emoji. Dr. Tapioca Weasel says, "Does that sound like something I would do?" Yeah. Okay. To be fair, kinda. Yeah. I'm about to go get a third drink for the first time. Well, not the first time. We did have that like 5-hour episode. But
Ocean's huge, you know.
true, we'll take a drink. The ocean is huge.
Which ocean?
Any of them. They're all a lot bigger than I am.
That's true.
Look like the idiot Russian astronauts who went up, circled the moon, came back and said, well, we didn't see God, so we must not exist.
What?
I don't know what he's talking
No
about.
Russian astronauts ever circled. First of all, they're cosmonauts, Kent. Second, they didn't circle the moon. You know what Russians did send that was alive that circled the moon? Like some bugs. We're gonna take a drink for Kent not knowing that cosmonauts didn't go circle the moon. There were some that allegedly went into orbit and then said we didn't see God. Okay. Oh my goodness. Trailmix just gifted 50 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Okay. Okay. WS Wordsman was gifted a membership. Let's see. Soulcat, Leas Leblu, let's see. Christine V, Don Kylon, H-Plan, Sophie Fishbach, Bio Alley, Theodore Pitzrak, Shauna Davis, Rye Breeze, Interrobang, Bob Knob, hold on. Where'd it go? I lost it. I might not be able to get all of them.
It's too many to read.
Oh, here we go. Jerome Alain Jacquin. Let's see. Mark Rose, You Are Victoria, Ruski Rumi, Chaz Sirius, Joel Duff, Cool Jesus, Jacob Maston. Let's see. Capital H, Kit, Strawberry Milk Goblin, Laser Fan, Daniel Bressler, Riley Piek, Anita. Lost it again. Crap. Cat. Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Too many
Here it is.
names to read.
Tom Boogan, Clifford Reynolds, Timothy Zwitton, Caleb Ray, Mr. Sirius, Daniel Glasser, Claire View, Eric 311, Space Dragon, Serge Yuchko? I'm not positive how to pronounce Hychko, sorry. Thomas Gallipoli, Crabman, Ricky B, Heather Kuhn, Ilias Leblu, Farron Salas, Peyton Dooley, Big Thing Flying Wayne, D-Boop, Unlocked, Brian Patterson, Blasphemer, let's see, The Fishmonger Official, awesome. And that's as far as I've gotten. So, yeah, so here's what we're gonna do.
50 drinks.
I'm gonna finish this drink and get another one. I'm gonna kind of count, but I gotta be honest. They're gonna be a little on the smaller side. But here we go. Let's see how many I get before we have to go get another drink and take a quick intermission. And thank you very much, Trail Mix. That is absurdly generous, and I
Ridiculous.
I cannot thank you enough. Also, Andrometheus for $5 says, Kent, Ocean Big, Dapper, sure, why not? Big gulp, yeah, true. And Chipfish for $5 says, let's just call this a finish your drink. Don't do 50. You know what, that's fair. I've got half a drink left. We'll finish the drink. And, yeah, so here we go. Even this will take a while. Goodness. This is going to be the drunkest I've been on Kent with Bet in a while.
I just got shocked in my ear.
Ow. Oh, doggy. Doggy cam.
Yeah, there's doggies. Hey, doggies.
Aw. Look at that.
Hey, Ben.
Look at him.
Can you calm down a little bit? Just a little bit?
Okay.
Like a good boy?
I think that noise was long enough to indicate I have just finished off this drink. So here's what we're going to do, though. We're going to add 50 to the drink counter. So it's going to go to 98.
Wow.
Yeah. We're probably going to break a record for how many drinks we have on the board.
I think that might already have broken it right.
Goodness.
For Kent with Ben for at least.
Yeah, so we're going to take a quick mini intermission while I just go fill up a new drink. We're going to come back. We're going to do more Kent with Bent. And then maybe I'll go pass out. Who knows?
Okay. Oh, 400. So far. I'm only wearing one TT. Couple more 50 years and we'll get a day. Yeah. First time for everything. Hot mic. Cold mic.
Apparently that was a hot mic.
That
Whoops.
happens.
Oh well. Drink water. Look, most of this is water. What's hotter, Bent's mic or his sweet bod? Ooh, good question.
It's a tie. Both.
Oh man. Oh well. That's okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We're going to continue on with the Bent and the Kent. So here we go.
I'll think about it.
Oh, that was a joke that didn't land because no one else laughed. Take a drink. Okay. Oh, I did not stir that sufficiently. That was just a sip of rum. Okay, let's drink that. Let's stir that a little bit more. Oh, okay. Here we go.
You didn't see him, so he doesn't exist. You go out and look at the beach. I don't see any dinosaurs, therefore they don't exist. You know.
I see dinosaurs at the beach. Okay. Every time I've gone to the beach, I've seen dinosaurs. Every single time.
I just saw some out the window earlier.
Yeah, me too.
I wasn't at the beach, but it was where these alleged lead artifacts were found.
True. You should go hunting for more Roman lead artifacts. Just don't eat them.
Maybe I will after the show.
Okay. But leave your mic on so everyone can hear it.
Got it.
That's the attitude some people have. For one thing, right now, how much of the ocean would you guess is being observed by people?
I don't know.
Not much. Ships, even today, ships generally stick to the shipping lanes because they take advantage of the currents. I mean, if you're in a giant boat, you know, carrying a zillion pounds of material, and you're only going, 11 miles an hour, and you can get in a current that'll carry you an extra 3 miles an hour.
Okay.
That cuts 4 days off your time going across the ocean. Meanwhile, you're paying all this crew 4 days' pay. It just makes common sense, you know?
Yes. Using currents to get places faster makes common sense. You're right, Kent. Let's take a drink. Let's get it to 100.
I'll drink for that.
We'll get it to 100. I don't know why that needs to be said, but like, yeah, technically that, not even technically, it's just, yeah. Also, I just want to point out, normally you measure speed on ships like that in knots, not in miles per hour, but like, whenever, for one thing, it's nautical miles per hour, and nautical miles aren't the same thing as statute miles. Nautical miles are a 69th of a degree of latitude. how big a nautical mile is. Which, also, nice. Okay.
Figure out where the currents are and follow the currents. Which means there are large sections of the ocean that are never sailed over.
Oh, yes. Cheers to triple digits. I think this is the first time we've gotten into triple digits for a drink number. Also, if you're playing along at home, whether now or after the fact, don't drink actual 100 drinks. Just, like, finish your drink for that 50, and we'll move on from that. Oh. Olivia Williams, who's been a member for 13 months, is at the tetrapod level, says, because I just feel like 101 Ghidorah. So here we go. We'll take our 101st drink, kind of. Thank you very much. And yeah, DM Wing says, figure sailors would divide things into 69ths.
Oh,
yeah. So I do actually think that the real reason for that is that 69 is like the closest whole number that you can divide the difference between latitude lines into. Like the closest number that like gets you like a number of feet equal to a statute mile. I think. I don't actually know. I know I was a sailor. I know Ben was too. But we weren't super into it. Yeah. So, yeah. Actually, it reminds me, my grandmother once bought me a giant, and I mean giant, like coffee table-sized, leather-bound, metal-embossed history of the U.S. Navy. I gave it back to her immediately. I was like, I don't want this.
Wow.
You can take it.
Yeah.
She's like, but it's so nice. I got it for you. I'm like, I don't care. You can have it. I don't want it. She's like, but I want you to take it. I'm like, I will throw it out.
Yikes.
Yep.
There's no currents there to take advantage of. In 1850s, there was a whaling ship called the Monongahela. Now, there's a fascinating story. You can get it at UWF Library about the Monongahela. It's in QL 89 if you go to the UWF Library. QL 89 is the section of the library that has books about Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's the section of the library about stuff that doesn't exist. Got it.
Captain on board the Monongahela set sail to catch whales. It's a whaling ship.
Tracy Roberts, with their first super chat, says, hi from Australia. Found this channel a few days ago, my first stream. Well, welcome, Tracy Roberts. I'm glad that you found the channel. That's for $5 redues, by the way. And thank you for sending your first super chat. That's really awesome. Yeah, welcome. I hope that you enjoy it. There's over 600 videos that you can watch if you want to. 3 a week. We do a stream on Tuesday. We do a premiere on Thursday, and we almost always do a stream on Saturday. Sometimes there's a premiere, and like a couple times a year or so, like there's no show on Saturday. Very rare that there isn't a show on Saturday at all. Oh, look at the puppy.
Hi, Archer.
See, he has the advantage of being big enough to actually just get on camera by doing
Right.
very little. The other dogs are so tiny that they just can't get on camera easily.
They walk by, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't come full center camera. Look at them. All right, here we go.
I've read the whole story. I just have a brief synopsis of it here, but the story goes basically, the lookout hollered down, Captain, there's a sea monster out there. The sea monster was sleeping on some floating seaweed, or kelp, I think it was. The captain called the crew up on deck. They saw the sea monster. Now, this is a whaling ship. These are the guys that get in those little boats and go out there with those big harpoons and stick it inside of a whale. You would have to be pretty brave to do something like that.
I mean, I guess so, yeah, whales can be pretty destructive. But it's also... Okay, look, I understand the economic forces that made this a thing. But still, it's also, kind of a dick move. Don't kill whales. Whales are cool and very intelligent, and there's no good reason to kill them, especially economically. Like, we don't need to do that. That's not a thing that needs to keep happening.
He said, sailors, we have for years heard stories of sea monsters.
Okay.
How many of you have heard stories of sea monsters? And of course, they all raised their hand.
Atheist Jr. asked if I ever read Moby Dick. Yes. I don't like the writing style of English fiction from that time. So, I didn't much enjoy it, although I do understand why it's a classic. A lot of cool stuff in there. Heart Zero says, what's up? I mean, you've seen it. This is what's up. Kept with Bent, Doggy Cam. after this, we will watch Power Rangers, but there will be a little bit of a delay. We might not start till like, I don't know what, like 10, 15, 20 minutes after the show.
Yeah, 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, there you go. So that's going to be on the Discord server, which, by the way, some 66 new people have access to. Oh, now what we need is someone to give 600 memberships. So that way, 666 people. Don't do that. I'll die.
Too many drinks.
He said, how many of you have laughed at somebody else for claiming they saw a sea monster? Raised their hand. He said, fellas, there's a sea monster. We have two choices. Go back to port, report we saw a sea monster, and get laughed at the rest of our life, or go kill it.
I don't understand why someone will
exist.
get laughed at for seeing a sea monster.
I mean, it's kind of like when people get like made fun of for being like, "Oh, I totally saw aliens," and everyone's like, "No, you didn't."
I mean, just a large creature in the sea doesn't seem irrational to me.
Yeah.
So
Although
maybe that's why I don't understand.
Well, the thing is, I don't know where he's getting this story. I don't think he's making it up, but maybe. So, like, yeah, I don't know.
Someone else made it up and told him, and now he's repeating it.
Yeah.
He's embellishing it, I'm sure.
Any volunteers to go kill the sea monster? He got enough volunteers to man, I think, 3 boats, whaling boats.
By the way, Savage Cobra Kinda Official for $2 says prediction, and they took no samples. Yeah. I don't even think they're going to be able... I don't even think the story's going to end with them killing the thing.
But these guys get their harpoons, they get in these boats, they go out there after this sea monster, which is sleeping, sunbathing or something, on the kelp. They get up beside it and they harpoon it. I think the story says they...
Okay, Maya Atkinson says, it's Kent, of course he's making it up. Okay, but... Sometimes it's a made-up story that he heard from someone else, and he's not making it up. That also happens. And we only drink when he's the one who's made it up. So, Atheist Junior says, people have seen UFOs. Yeah, me. I don't think it was aliens visiting Earth and flying out above my house. But I definitely saw something in the sky that I, to this day, don't know what it is. It doesn't match the description of any meteorological or astronomical phenomenon I'm familiar with. I saw it. But that doesn't make me believe it's alien visitors.
Stuck 5 harpoons in it. Sea monster, of course, woke up right away.
That makes sense.
Jerked his head around. And they said that the jaw on this creature was about 8 feet long. When it came around, it hit the captain, who was standing up in his boat. Knocked him out of the boat.
Shipfish wants to hear my UFO story. It's actually pretty boring. I was reading before bed, which it's a pretty normal thing for me to do. And at this point, my bed in the house I was in was basically like the headboard was like resting right against a window. And after I turned my light off, I saw something that was a red, roughly circular shape with a sort of blue trail after it go across the sky. I have no idea what it was. That description doesn't match any phenomenon I'm aware of. But yeah, it just went across the sky, and then it was gone. I sat up in bed and looked around, didn't see anything. And yeah, that's the whole story. It's pretty boring. It was an object in the sky that flew past me, and I have no idea what it was. And yeah, it was a red, roughly circular shape with a little blue trail. I don't know.
Serpent was just twitching around, seeing what stuck me in the side. You know, why do I have a pain here all of a sudden? So he twitches around, knocks the captain unconscious. A couple of sailors jump in, grab the captain, drag him out, put him in the boat, revive him. Meanwhile, this sea serpent slides off the kelp and heads for the bottom. And they have the ropes, and they're pouring water on as this rope is whizzing out over the front of the boat. They got this little thing, the gunwale, I think they call it, where the rope goes out. No, the gunwale's the back. But the rope goes whizzing out through this little V-shaped thing to keep it in place. And the sea serpent is going to the bottom. They realize they're going to run out of rope, so they tie another rope on. If I remember the story, it's been 7 years since I read it, but the sea monster went down about 1,500 feet.
Okay, how do they measure that?
With 1,500 feet of rope.
Okay, but like, how was the rope demarcated? Like, did it have like distance lines on it or something?
How do they know it went down and not sideways?
Well, there's that too. Yeah, like I'll look. I'm sure they reported, or I'm not sure. I am willing to accept that this was reported, but a lot of these details sound a little fishy. Get it? Because it's like a
Fishy.
ship. Yeah.
I
One or two
The
of the
joke that
harpoons
landed.
pulled loose. The other one stuck. There's this sea monster way down underwater
Okay.
with these ropes hooked to harpoons that are still stuck in him. Of course, what a harpoon is supposed to do, it's supposed to, make it bleed to death. That's why they kill the whales. After a long time, I forget, I think it was several hours.
Savage Cobra Kind official says probably the length of the line. Okay, but in the middle of like an active like battle with a sea monster where like there's probably like water splashing all over the place and boats rocking back and forth, I don't think anyone's taking careful notes of how much of that rope went into the water. And I don't think that, given that there's probably going to be splashes all over the place, you could just base it on what part of the rope is wet versus dry. So, like, I'm just skeptical. Oh, excuse me, I have a hiccup. It's because of all the drinks.
But it's quite a while. One of the sailors hollered, "He's coming up." The rope is going slack. So they start pulling in the rope, and about 1/8 of a mile away from them, the sea monster surfaces and it's thrashing around as it's dying. They said it apparently had stayed down too long because it coughed up its own lungs. Its lungs.
Yeah, Vagary says, I know sailors put knots in ropes to tell depth, but I wouldn't think you'd do that with harpoon lines. No, you wouldn't. Those are for, you put knots like that to measure depth in actual lines that you're going to be using to measure depth. In harpoon lines, you would not normally put knots in to measure distance.
Exploded, and the lungs were hanging out of its mouth.
The lungs exploded and were hanging out of its mouth. No, I'm going to take a drink for that. That does not sound like a thing that happened. Joel Duff
I don't
says,
think you can really cough up your lung.
no. Joel Duff says, Dapper is skeptical of Kent's claim? You don't say. I know, right? For $5, Margaret Zelensky says, never thought I'd be begging for Kent to talk about the Bible or Garden of Eden or something. Anything but unsubstantiated sailor stories. Yeah, that's another good point. Just because a bunch of sailors said it, that does not make it true. I say this as a former sailor myself. Sailors will make all sorts of nonsense up.
Oh, yeah.
Believe me. Yeah.
It's fun.
It is.
They waited till it thrashed around and died.
Okay.
They dragged it over to the boat and cut it up. They measured it 103 feet long. I believe the number was 103 feet 6 inches. I mean, they really measured it. The sailor said it had 2 blowholes, like a whale does. You have 2 nostrils. A whale has 2 blowholes on the back of its head.
Okay. More specifically, mysticetes, that is the baleen whales, have 2 blowholes. Odontocetes, toothed whales, have 1. So there is a bit of a difference. You can't just say whales have 2 blowholes. It's not accurate. But yeah.
It had 4 swim fins, an alligator-like head, and 94 very sharp teeth.
And was the skeleton preserved anywhere?
Maybe.
Doesn't seem like it, because then, you probably would have led with that.
I would hope.
Passing ship stopped as the crew was cutting it up, and they bought some barrels of sea serpent oil. Now, the story goes that this thing had a...
So I'm sorry. They had a sea serpent on board, and they were cutting it up and pressing the oil, and they just kind of sold it? That's... Also, Borg Emporia says, my birthday is Thursday. Thanks for the entertainment. Well, happy birthday, Borg Emporia. And hey,
birthday.
For your birthday, I am going to be premiering a new video. There's going to be a new video about hydroplate theory called Mount Everest is a Baby. So, there you go. Erchamian for $10 says they were sea snake oil salesmen. Yeah, apparently. So, like, they're just selling this oil to passing ships. How do you know how much sea serpent oil is worth? The point of whale oil is that you can burn it relatively cleanly in, like, lamps. So, like, can you do that with sea serpent oil? No one would know. Why would you buy that? And why wouldn't you keep the skeleton of this amazing creature? Keller Italian, who's been a member for 10 months and is at the amulet level, says, "Gonna say, though, at least this new Kent story, or at least this is a new Kent story. Never heard this one before. Still bad, though. Godzilla, we'll take a drink." And yeah, I do appreciate that this is a fresh one. Because, look, Kent is super repetitive. Here's the drink. And, like, yeah. Yeah, it is new, so I'll give him that. That is nice.
Layer of blubber like a whale does. Whale blubber ranges, say 2 feet thick. They would cut off this whale blubber, the fat on the outside of a whale, and boil it down to make whale oil. That's what they used to use. I've heard they still use it to make transmission fluid.
Oh my god. No, Kent. They don't still use... I'm doing it. They don't still use fucking whale oil to make transmission fluid. Whaling has been illegal basically everywhere for so long, and the only countries that do it for meat. No one's still using whale oil commercially. There's my 104th-ish drink. Kent. Why? Why do you just have to make up that people are using whale oil for transmission fluid of all things?
I don't.
What?
I don't know if that ever was a thing. Who knows?
I think that one just broke me. That's
A little bit.
oh my goodness. Okay, Vishanti is coming in with some more info about the author who wrote this. The author, Randall Reinstadt, wrote a book full of paranormal stories. Yeah, so apparently he was just peddling ghost stories. Yeah, okay. Sure.
Out of whale oil. But they used to use it in old days for lamps and stuff like that. Whale oil was very expensive. A boat could go out. It was very risky business, but if you caught enough whales to fill your boat with whale oil, you could retire after one cruise.
I don't believe that, but I also don't have evidence against it. And I'd say I don't believe it because people made a career out of whaling. But also, you know what this is reminding me of? Dishonored. Which I've heard described as whale oil punk. Because there's a lot of cool, like, steampunk type technology, but it's powered by whale oil. But, like, it's magical whale oil, so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people went out and died, so it's a risky business. Anyway, whale oil has sort of a red color to it when they boil it down. This sea serpent oil had a layer of blubber, so they boiled it down, and it was clear, like water. But it burned just like whale oil. You could use it for lamps, but it was clear oil. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting if this is a thing that happened, but we still have no good reason to think that that's the case. Like, just literally none.
The other boat that saw these guys, they said, "What are you guys doing?" They said, "We killed a sea monster. Come on over, take a look." So they went over and helped them cut it up and said, "We'd like to buy the oil off of you, and we're going to go back home and tell people we saw a sea monster. We held it in our hands. Here's the oil to prove it."
Yes, because of course you want to bring the oil back. You don't want to bring back, I don't know, the bones.
Why would he think
I'm taking
the oil
another
would
drink.
prove anything?
The oil.
That's ridiculous.
My goodness. It was, yeah, we took back the oil, guys. Did you bring back the skull, maybe? Oh, no, we threw that overboard. Oh, okay. Thanks. Sean Getler for $5 says, "This whole story reminds me of how Grains of Paradise got its name. A spice from Eden that had to be scooped out of a river since no one could go there." Thank you very much, Sean. All right, we've only got a little bit left, and then we're going to wrap it up, and then we're going to take a quick 15 to 20 minute break, and then we're going to do Power Rangers watching on the Discord server. Which season are we in, Bent?
Power Rangers Zeo, I think it's
Yes.
3.
It is 3.
The third
Or no, it's the
season?
4th season, because there's
Fourth
Mighty Morphin seasons 1, 2, 3. Then it goes Zeo, Turbo, In Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
By the way, Lightspeed Rescue is an undervalued season. Underrated season. I like it. People hated it. But they hated it because it was the first of the fully post-Zordon era, and they weren't used to that. And when you judge it against the other post-Zordon seasons, I think it comes out pretty well. Anyway.
So sure enough, they sail back home with their sea serpent oil
Okay.
and sell it or whatever and tell their stories. Ha, you guys just wait till the Monongahela gets here. Because the Monongahela said, well, this is great, but we didn't come out, for sea monster. Our boss didn't pay us for this. We're supposed to come back with whale oil. We got to go get a few more whales. So they sailed off in search of whales and was never heard from again.
Of course. That's so convenient that the actual ship that had the sea monster was never heard from again. But someone else was like, dude, I was totally there, and they sold us sea serpent oil. You gotta believe me, bro. Okay. Sure, Kent. This is totally great evidence for late surviving... I don't even know anymore. Because sea serpents aren't dinosaurs. There's no identifiable thing in the fossil record that you could reasonably call a sea serpent. I mean, sea snakes exist. So, yeah, as Tab points out, what is the point of this story?
Right?
I don't know. I wish I knew. It would make more sense to me if I knew. In fact, we're going to wrap it up around here because, I just can't take much more of this nonsense today. So, do you have anything that you want to announce or plug or anything like that before we get out of here?
Yeah, I make music. There's a link in the description.
That there is. It's for free, right? People can get your music for free.
Free.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have an Amazon wish list that was mentioned before.
All right, we're gonna put a quick poll in this while we wrap this up. All right, we're gonna start
What
a
kind of
poll.
poll?
Well, you're gonna find out. All right, let me type this.
Okay.
All right, there we go. We just put a poll in. We've also got a couple things to read. Average Cobra Kinda official for $2 says hearsay is the most reliable form of evidence. Yes, that's why it is always allowed under all conditions in a courtroom. That's why that is.
Right.
Arathamian, who's been a member for 5 months as a tetrapod, sends a Godzilla emoji, so we'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much. By the way, the poll is let me take a look.
Let's see that.
Would you be interested in early rough cuts of Bent's music on Patreon if he started one?
Nice.
Yeah. Because
appreciate that.
every few months, I say, hey, you could start a Patreon and put up rough cuts, even if you give away the final music for free.
And then what do I say?
You go, oh yeah, maybe I should do that. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just
maybe.
pointing out that currently the majority of people are interested.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe I will then.
Yeah, maybe you should. Anyway, let's take a look at what's coming up on the channel. So, as I said on Thursday, Mount Everest is a baby. Hydroplate Hype Part 1 of 3 is coming out. We are going to be hearing from someone who's a big booster for hydroplate theory, which is like the redheaded stepchild of catastrophic plate tectonics. It's the version of a flood model that not even the other creationists like. But hey, this guy is all about it. So that'll be on Thursday. On Saturday, we are hoping for another Depot Reacts. Then on Tuesday, the 16th, I am hoping, that's the 16th of May, 2023, I am hoping for a Matt with Maddie. I need to make sure I send Maddie a message about that. On the 20th, we're looking at another Dapper Reacts, most likely, but it's a little bit up in the air. On the 18th, though, that is going to be the second part of the Hydroplate Hype. There's 3 parts, which is pretty typical for my series. And that's about as far ahead as I'm really going to bother looking. So we're going to end this poll. Now, it's only 36 votes out of 107 people watching, so, not everyone voted. But 72% of the 36 people who voted said yes, and only 27% said no. So, Bent,
Landslide.
I was about to say get off your butt, but no, you should stay on your butt and start a Patreon.
Okay.
And Wing said, just a reminder that turtles are the best tetrapod. You know what? I can't confirm that, but I also can't deny it. And then the Sealoof, who's been a member for 3 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, hey, guess what? I'm still awake. Mothra, maybe you should be. Because isn't it like 5 a.m. or something? Okay. All right, guys. Well, we are out of here. Thank you very much. And again, in about 20 past or so, we will be starting up the Power Rangers watch party. And we'll be doing either 3 or 4 episodes, depending on how mostly Bent feels. So thank you very much, everybody, and I hope to see you on Thursday.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Tapioca Weasel, Klaus Jepsen, Bent Hovind, Kevin Brostek Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, San, Denny5252, Eleron Teller, Philhavara, Ian Chen, Mrs. Spexinder, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Bede, and Scriptic Mystic. As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. But the people you see on screen are directly supporting so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is, and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters, as well as early access to all of my pre-recorded videos, often up to 2 months in advance. Higher tiers will unlock even better perks. Now, if the annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wishlist, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.